I know that some people don't understand my music, but that's fine. I don't want everyone to like it.
You don't need a huge crowd to begin with. That's kind of what I tell people. If you got a handful of friends and strangers who like what you're doing, they'll tell their friends. So, yeah, great to meet you.
Lovely to
I'm a
meet
big
you
fan.
too.
Where am I going to start? Your music, to my ears, more stripped down than what I do, which I'm envious of, because I feel like it then clears the way for what's essential, which might be the voice, it might be the beats, it might be a sound. I think maybe less so. I have a little more confidence now, but the tendency might have been pile things on. Oh, doesn't it sound better with another layer of this, another more of this, more of this, more of this? Is more better? And more is not always better, yeah.
First of all, I love that you think that my music's stripped down. Because I feel like it's too complicated.
Oh, you know all the stuff that's in there.
Yeah, maybe. So I love that you have that point of view, because sometimes I think my music's really complicated, and I wish that I could make it more simple. But for me, I allow myself projects to indulge, and then I have projects that I don't work. So I have kind of my more like mixtapey-esque projects, or like Capri songs or Afterglow, are things that I made like quick and dirty. And it was almost like first idea, best idea. And I just enjoyed making the songs. And I have other ones like Magdalene or You Sex You Were, or even like Melissa, I think that like are really like labored over in the sound design. And I just allow myself to go back and forth. So I'll often do a project where I'm like crazy about every single sound and like layering, and everything has to be perfect. And then I'll do that. And then I'll do one where I'm just like, this is for me to have fun and let go of some of the meticulous mad scientist energy.
Sounds like a good balance.
Yeah, it works for me. It's funny because when I think of your music, I think that it's really precise. Like, I think that everything that's in there is like the perfect amount that needs to be in there. It feels...
Yes, and of course, probably like any musician, we hear our own things and go, that could have been a little different or a little better or whatever. We hear all that stuff,
Yeah.
but yeah,
the grass is always greener.
someone else hears what's there, not what could have been there or whatever.
Exactly. I always say like that will sound really amazing when it's muted.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yes.
Are there any like things from the beginning of your career that you learned, like mistakes that you made or things that you did wrong and you were like, I will never do that again?
I can think of one big one that's kind of a process. I think maybe I was insecure about collaborating with all various people, but very secure about my vision, what I wanted to do. So I became like this little tyrant who would say, it has to be this way. No, you're not doing it right. It has to be like this. You have to play it like this. So you have to go like this. And no, let's do it again. And, which in some ways you have to do anyway.
Yeah.
But I would get very bossy about it. And I thought and realized that's not the best way to get results.
Right.
Over the years, I found out that if I can, in a way, make everyone a collaborator, like, here's what I'm trying to do. If we all get on the same page and we're all going in the same direction, I'm not telling you what to do. You're going to find out where this wants to go.
Yeah.
Musically, movement, whatever. And that took a long time for that to happen.
That's a good lesson.
And you?
Just not maybe being so shy all the time. It's not shy, it's like I'm like deeply reserved. A little bit shy, but mainly deeply, deeply reserved. So sometimes, yeah, if people come to like talk to me, or like I sometimes like don't realize that they want to collaborate or they want to like make friends or something. So now I really try to just make a really big effort with other artists and everybody just to be really present. You know, for me as an artist, especially when I was young, I spent so much time alone. So it's kind of, you go from being so alone and thinking to all of a sudden
having all these people around, which sure is nobody can see except us.
Watch you talk, you know? So it's just such a big change. But now I think especially in this like You Sex You Were era, I've really felt my my heart open a lot and my personality open up a lot more. Like even to be able to do this interview, you know, like for me probably like 5 years ago, I might not have been able to feel so comfortable. I think for me, it's more like this stuff that I'm growing at. The art and the performance and the music comes a bit more naturally. I think if I could speak to my younger self, I would say like, go on, like just go for it, like do the interview, like say hi. If you see someone that you love, just like go up to them and just tell them, you know, that type of thing.
I'd read, as I was starting to be a musician, I started reading like these musician biographies, tragedies, most of them. I thought, I got to learn from this.
Yeah.
Don't do what this person did. I mean, they're all those kind of stories. And I thought creatively, I realized that in order to have the freedom that I would love to have, I can't really repeat myself over and over, because then you're going to get pigeonholed.
Yeah.
You have to do different things in different areas and different mediums if you can, and that will grant you the freedom. And the audience will, if you're lucky, they'll come with you.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same. I feel exactly the same in both of the things you said. Like, first of all, I love, not in like a schadenfreude kind of way, but in a studious way, learning from other people's mistakes from the past, and then also just my contemporaries. Like looking at my contemporaries, I think, oh my gosh, like I love what they're doing. This is like so amazing. It's so inspiring. And then I suddenly think, oh, what they did there, like didn't feel completely aligned with what they said before. And then I just remember in my head that if I'm ever in that situation, to learn from it. And at that point, stop and like be careful of my next move. And also, yeah, musicians from the past. I find like documentaries from musicians really hard to watch sometimes because they can be so tragic. Like, a lot of musicians like being used, drugs, depression. You know, it's a hard life, and a lot of like musicians have kind of like famously almost like a lot of mental health issues and drug dependencies and all of these things. And I've always like really tried to look after myself in that respect. But then also the idea that I can change each time, but I can complete a chapter and I can close the thing and just completely move on. I can say, okay, this is what I made. I made this piece of music and it's this energy and this vibe, and I'm making this world, and then that album came out and then it's done next, you know? And I've been really grateful that my fans have stayed with me. I think now at this point in my career it makes sense, but I also understand that a couple of chapters ago when I kept on changing, it didn't make sense for them even. Whereas now I feel like it does, and it makes sense for myself as well.
It's probably, they develop a deeper respect for you as a creative person.
Yeah.
Because they've followed this kind of winding path.
Yeah, but I think there's two things. I agree with what you said. A, to learn from others' mistakes, and B, to be brave and never look behind, never try to recreate what you've already done. I don't know about you, but I instantly forget how to do it anyway. When I've done something, I could never like go back into that world and make another song of that type. I've just forgotten.
But you're occasionally performing older songs.
No, but I mean to create it again.
Yes.
I can perform it and dive in.
My head was in that place at that moment.
But I couldn't create it from scratch again.
Exactly.
I wouldn't know how to do it.
I'll never write that again.
No. That's why sometimes when I write a really good song of a certain era, I mourn, because I'm like, wow, well that was nice while it lasted.
Yes.
Now it's gone.
But it becomes kind of an icon of a particular period.
Yeah. Yes.
It represents something at that moment. Yeah.
And I've learned not to be resentful of that. I feel like I've been resentful.
Yeah. I find that the older material sometimes changes meaning when you do it. Yes. Perform it in a different way, with different movement, or change the musical arrangement. It suddenly becomes, oh, I see something in there that I didn't know it was there.
Or it can become about someone completely different in your life.
Exactly.
It could start off as a lover and it can end as your mum. You know?
It could, yes.
I love that, actually. I actually love that about performing songs. That it can start off about someone very particular, and sometimes you can even sing it again 10 years later and it's actually about yourself.
They're probably all about ourselves. When you started doing music, were there discouraging voices, or people said, oh,
Yeah.
because it was not like in a lot of other music out there. As you said, the rhythms would change and
Yeah.
the sound was really different. And I can imagine there might have been some, are you sure this is right? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, even still now, you know, like, I know that some people don't understand my music, but that's fine, you know, like, building a community of people that understand what I do, and if you understand, you deeply understand it. And I don't want everyone to like it in the whole world, because that's like fast food or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone loves like fast food fries, like.
Yeah, everybody likes the salt and the sugar. And
Yeah, like fries from any fast food restaurant are delicious, but that's not who I am, you know. And so I don't want to be fries. I want to be something like very specific and very delicious that people will travel across the world to come and taste this delicious, very specific thing.
And here they are, yes.
What about you? Did you have people, like when you said that you wanted to become a music artist, did people support you or?
I came at it, my ambition was to be an artist who did artworks and showed in galleries and things like that.
I can see that.
I did music for fun and eventually did it with friends for fun. But I never thought in a million years, I thought, no, there's people who've gone to school for this. There's people who are really, really good at this. I'm just doing it for fun. And so I thought, no hope of ever having a career doing this. But then one of the band people I was playing with said, let's audition at the club. And a handful of people liked it. That was enough.
Yeah.
That was enough encouragement. That's kind of what I tell people. You don't need a huge crowd to begin with. If you've got a handful of friends and strangers who like what you're doing,
Yeah.
they'll tell their friends.
Exactly. I always think 10 people at a time. No, I always think that, like, all I need is 10 people at a time. Just 10 people. And then if you keep on collecting 10 people, then in the end, it's a whole crowd.
Yeah.
I think now, like, a lot of people can focus so much on, like, you know, a viral moment or like playing the biggest show in the world or having a #1 hit. But to me, that's actually just noise a lot of the time, and it can mean nothing. But if it's 10 people at a time, then you put every single foot on the step of a ladder. Like, I never want to get lucky and like miss a few steps, because then if I fall, then I'm gonna fall down those 5 steps. Whereas if it's 10 people at a time, then it means that people are like truly invested and truly love what you're doing. And so you can't really fall down. You'll always just keep on growing, because it's just small increments. It feels like safer that way as an artist. Also, what is a weird part of your process that only you do?
I save song titles. I make up song titles.
That's a good one.
And I save those in the computer. Each one has its own page waiting for the words. Because I feel like sometimes an evocative title, the rest of it is just going to flow from there.
It's true. I used to work with a songwriter called Mike Chapman, and he wrote Simply the Best for Tina Turner. And he said that how he had that song title, Simply the Best, for so long because he was in a supermarket and there was some bread. And it was literally just like, this make of bread, simply the best. And that's where it came from. It was just a supermarket.
Yeah. Do you think that your approach to music is different because you came at it as a dancer?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, I was right on that one.
As a dancer, I feel very confident in changing rhythms and BPMs and having lots of changes in my music because, of course, as a dancer, that's almost encouraged in a score.
Yeah,
You know, and even as a dancer when I was growing up, if you danced to a piece of music, it would, like, I mean, a lot of dancers will understand, say, even if you do a dance competition, there might be multiple pieces of music in a 7-minute piece.
Oh,
And
all
there's
edited
lots
together.
of different cuts, you know? So I was used to dancing to lots of different music and having dramatic changes. I come from competition dance as a kid, and also my mum was a salsa teacher. So even in Latin rhythms, like there's a lot of different types of rhythms within one song. So a salsa song can be like 8 minutes long.
Yes.
But there's lots of different versions, and sometimes it's like the voice and then the drums, then it can even like speed up towards the end of the song in some salsa music. So I think that that's encouraged me to be a bit more daring.
Really different than someone like me who came out of a kind of rock band background and gradually, very slowly, little by little, adopted dance stuff into what I do and realized, oh, this opens a door to a lot of other things.
Yeah.
And every time I do it, I'm learning something else.
But you're an amazing mover.
Thank you.
I mean, I feel like your movements have inspired so many artists in particular. And it's funny because I was rewatching some of your performances. And of course, I know that you've inspired so many people because you are an icon. But when I rewatched some of your performances, it became so apparent how many other bands, and especially lead men in bands, have been so inspired by what you do, or even the setup of the way that you've used backing dancers and musicians and I guess like the silhouette of the human form. And it's almost like beyond dance what you do. It's like this kind of kinesis, like this sort of kinetic, it's like this kinetic representation of the music that is so free.
Coming from a dance background, do you think of the body and the way the movement is put together as telling a story?
Yeah.
Not a literal story like with the lyrics,
Yeah.
but a story told with the body.
Oh, 100%. Okay, let's see if I can do an example. Say if I go like that, or if I go like that. And it's such a slight difference, but they mean two completely different things. So say if you were talking to me and I went like that, to me, it's like either concentrating or maybe like you said something slightly offensive and I'm like checking.
You could go, what did I say?
Yeah, whereas if the chin's up and you go like that, then there's a curiosity.
Oh, there's interest.
Yeah, there's like an allure to it and a curiosity. And so when I'm on stage, I think about that a lot. Just in terms of like every part of my hands or my shoulders, like whether my shoulders are forward or whether they're back. Even in like the set I did last week, there's movement. There's songs like Room of Fools, where like everything's very forward and it's kind of got this like jack, and it's a bit more like androgynous or even like masculine within the movement, to then a song like Meta Angel, where it's like this curiosity and the shoulders are back and the arms are back because it's like the beginning of the set, so there's like an ethereal sort of quality. But yeah, everything is a movement. Even how quick you move your eyes is a story, or choose not to, or whether your gaze is completely set to the back of the room, or whether you're not looking at the audience and you're more like monitoring the space. But everything has a different way of, for me, like bringing the audience into the story that I'm trying to tell.
I agree. I think an audience knows how to read that. They instinctually know how to read that if they're a human being and they're used to being with other human beings. They've seen those postures and gestures and everything, and they have a sense, oh, it telegraphs that feeling from inside without having to say anything. But I also think people don't realize that they are understanding all that. They don't realize that, oh, there's a whole set of emotions and story and back and forth being told that I kind of instinctually understand, but I don't know if I can put it into words.
That's the beauty of theater though, isn't it?
Yes, yes. You don't have to put everything into words.
Yeah, exactly.
your process time, but I'm wondering, okay, what's your process? Where do you begin? How do you bring in the dancers? Are they dancers you've worked with before or new ones, or does it depend on how you're conceiving the show, what kind of people you're looking for? What's the process of building it from there?
I mean, I really believe in when creating anything like a song or one of my shows, I create from where I'm at and everything is useful. So even if I'm sad or happy or angry or in love or heartbroken, it's like that state of where I'm at is what the show should be. So say, for example, if I was in love and then I planned this whole show about being in love. If rehearsal started and I had 6 weeks to rehearse and then I was heartbroken, it would completely change. Even if I completely planned that it would be about being in love, on day one of rehearsal, it would like completely fall apart and I would decide it was actually about heartbreak and devastation. And so in that way,
Could you make those changes
Yeah.
in the performance?
Oh, 100%.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, 100%, because for me, it's all about telling the truth and for me, collaborating with people that can be malleable. And in the same way with my dancers as well, like I require a lot of physicality, a lot of concentration, but also a lot of grace in things being able to change so that we can tell the truth together. My dancers, I feel, are almost an extension of myself, like parts of my personality and then some, or a small part that I see in myself. Like say if there's like the Venn diagram, it's like they are that part of myself and then that part extended and magnified so that I can tell a story through their physicality that I even maybe couldn't do myself because I don't have the skill or the craft or the physicality, you know, but they can take a part of me and they can push it even further. So, you know, the way I work with the dancers is that if one of them has like an aggression or a softness in their movement, they in that part will then get the solo or they'll get the light like shone on them to continue the emotion in the story for me where I can't because I'm singing or I'm not good enough, or whatever. But I think it's just, for me, a process of figuring out how to tell the truth and how to tell a raw emotion and to not be afraid if something doesn't make sense at the time, because in the end it always makes sense as long as it feels real. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I mean, I got asked by friends, what are you trying to say here? What are you trying to do? What's the story? And I go, it'll tell me.
Yeah.
We'll start putting things together and then I'll go, oh, that's what this is.
I feel like that too. At a certain point, you just give up to the process and then the message starts leading you. It's like in the beginning, you're leading it, and by the end, you think, oh no, like this is actually about like repressed aggression.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it, but now it's about repressed aggression and now I have to follow that, you know, and everything's to do with that. But I want to ask the same question of you, like, how do you pick your band members? How do you pick your dancers? You know, like it's been such a huge part, like the physicality and the way everyone moves together. Like, how did you know that you had the right people in the room? And how did you meet?
With the musicians, it was the drummers. I have 4 drummers, and I've worked with them before, so that was easy. I just had to say, it's a long tour. It's a long one. Are you? Yeah. And then some of the other musicians, one person would recommend another.
Yeah.
Go, oh, do you know somebody who can do this? Oh, yeah, I do know somebody who can do that. Put that together. The dancers, they're new, so we did auditions with the choreographer's assistant. The choreographer was Stephen Hoggett, guy from London, and his assistant is Yasmin Lee. So we auditioned people, and the tricky part was I wanted them all to sing. So I had to balance how much movement can you do and sing.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you do is incredible. I'm watching and going, yeah. But can you sing, you know, hold notes and do the whole thing here, hold a nice harmony here, and then move or whatever. The beginning of the rehearsals was really a lot of improvising, a lot of just movement stuff of seeing how people connect with other people. The choreographer was in there saying, I want to see how the musicians move without me telling them anything. Without me choreographing anything, I want to see how they move when they play their instruments. He said before we put on what he calls the cold dead hand of the choreographer. He's exaggerating. And yeah, so I can't believe, well, I mean, we ended up with great kind of bonded group that we love hanging out.
Yeah. And do you hang out a lot outside of performances as well? Like, do you feel that when you kind of build the bond and build the relationship outside of the rehearsal room and outside of stage, do you feel like that strengthens the performance as well?
I think it does. I know not everybody does that, but I like it because I feel like they'll tell me things, not personal stuff, but they'll tell me if something's bothering them, if they're concerned about something in the show.
Yeah.
There's this nice process of kind of tweaking things and adjusting things. And it doesn't just come top down from me, it's coming from them as well. Okay, different modes of things that you do, like there's performance, there's the videos, and some acting, yeah, and recording. I'm wondering, how do you navigate? What are you thinking of when you go into each area? I think for a lot of people who've seen the show, they will listen to the music in a completely different way.
Yeah.
It tells them, oh, now I know what this song is about. And they feel that whatever movement it is happening on stage, now they will imagine that in their head and maybe in their body when they hear the song.
Yeah.
At some point, you can't separate them.
It's the same thing that I was saying, I guess, about the making a show. That in the beginning, it's like you have this feeling and you just follow the feeling and it has to be the truth. And then in the middle, the feeling reveals itself for like the personality, the thing that it is. And then in the end, you feel like you're chasing the truth. It's like this kind of reverse, like this kind of bait and switch. And I feel like that in my career as well, that there's this overarching story that I'm telling, and it's singing and dancing and now like being in films or making videos. And at the end, there'll be an overarching story of who I am as an artist. But at the moment, I'm still in the truth of it all. But I should imagine that at one point, the narrative will become very clear, and then I'll have a North Star, more to follow rather than just creating in the truth. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's kind of, I'm making a story and the story will be my legacy. And it's all the same. It's all on the same canvas, you know, it's just different colored paints that I'm using to make the story. But I still feel, you know, very young and at the beginning, I think. I still feel in the first leg in many ways.
I'm still learning.
Yeah, me too.
I've been doing this for a long time.
Me too, yeah.
And I feel like every time
Yeah.
it's a new experience.
Totally, yeah.
I saw a show you did in Brooklyn quite a while ago. There was a lot of, I might be wrong here, flex dancers and
Oh, yeah.
different folks that you brought in from, I think, LA and maybe other towns. I loved it. I thought it was an incredible show. There was this laser wall.
Yes. Wow, that was ages ago.
It was ages ago,
Yeah.
but yes.
I didn't know.
And it was
you
kind of a
did that.
one-of, I think.
That's incredible.
It was just an amazing show. To me, it was you making your own show, but also presenting these dancers that you admired and that were influencing you, basically saying, you have to check this out. You
Yeah.
have to see what these people do, which was really generous.
I left home pretty young, and I really feel that there are certain scenes and cultures that have raised me. You know, my parents did an amazing job as well, but I didn't go to university, and I feel that a lot of my years past 18, I just was almost like raised by the streets a bit of like different places. And so I'm always really thankful for the families that I've made along the way. And a lot of it has been movement-based, like crumping and voguing. I've always really felt embraced and inspired and nurtured by dance communities. And so whenever I have the opportunity to say like, hey, like, check this out, it makes me so happy. And it's almost like paying homage to family that have become like a part of my art. You know, each dance form is kind of a different rhythm or a different way of looking at things. Specifically like ballroom culture and voguing. Like, I don't really vogue myself, you know, I wouldn't call myself a vogue dancer, but I feel very inspired by the notion of loving myself, of community, of embracing my sexuality, about taking almost like my flaws and making them into my crowning features. And these are all things that I've learned from the Vogue community, and just like a confidence, you know. I have like many lines about it in my songs, just about the way that, for me, ballroom culture has helped me understand the type of woman that I want to be, because I don't feel very like effeminate, but I feel like also deeply feminine. And so that complication and that like spectrum that I have within myself is really, I think, embraced by ballroom culture and queer culture. And so I've been able to find my womanhood there. And so for that, like, I'm very grateful.
Inspirations, whether dance, music, film, whatever, that kind of thing. That's kind of be tough. Like, I know from experience being asked, like, oh, what's the best song you heard today?
Yeah.
And it's like, mine goes blank.
Yeah, it's hard. I think it changes all the time. Like, at the moment, I'm really inspired by Pina Bausch. She's like a dancer and choreographer. I'm really into like...
Oh, she does that?
Yeah, I'm into like, what's this, your like clavicle? Is this called your clavicle?
Uh-huh.
No, is that what it's called?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, like, I'm just into the kind of, it's really amazing getting older. Why are you laughing?
I'm quite a bit older, and I feel like I'm doing fine.
It's amazing getting older because when I thought about getting older as a woman, I didn't know what that would feel like. And my physicality hasn't actually like changed a lot, like since I was even like 16.
Wow.
Like, I just have always kind of been the same size. Like, I have clothes from when I was a teenager that I still wear now. And I've been really curious what like aging would look like for me. And I'm almost 40 now. And the way that my body's aging is so interesting because it's getting really like sinewy.
Oh.
Like, I'm finding that there's like a sinewiness to my muscles. Like, when
Is that okay, or do you try and do things to counter that?
Sinew? No, I like the sinews.
Uh-huh.
Like, I like, I remember when I was younger and I'd look at my mum's hands and she kind of would have like veins. And then I would like play with my mum's veins on her hands, but my hands were like completely smooth. But this thing kind of happens all over, at least my body as I'm getting older, and I think it's quite common for dancers, where you sort of get this like sinewy, where like when you move, like you can suddenly start like seeing everything.
Yeah.
Whereas like when you're young, or when I was young, or a lot of young dancers, you're like a sort of a fresh bit of like chicken breast. You know, everything's kind of like plump and juicy, and then you start getting older, and like, but it's so
well,
useful.
that baby fat goes away, yeah.
It goes away, but it's so interesting on stage because everything becomes so much more like visible. So you can just literally go like this, and all of a sudden, and you think of like Pina Bausch, and you think of like the clavicles and like the arms and what's that? It's so useful.
One of her shows that I saw recently was a big inspiration for my show. There was one scene in her show where there was a projection of like palm trees or something on the back wall and on the floor. And I thought, boom, what if I took that idea and ran with it for the whole show? Not the same image, but immersing myself and the dancers and the band in all these different places. And I just got it from the one scene in one of her shows.
she's brilliant.
It's, yeah, hugely inventive, her stuff.
She's so inventive.
Yeah.
So yeah, the way that her mind works, and again, it's like being able to say a sentence and being able to create a feeling without words. You know, you just see that one scene, and for you, it's like you're completely immersed in the world. You can like take that one tiny bit and turn it into a whole show.
That's a world right there.
It's a world right there, yeah. So Pina Bausch, and I think just like her physicality and being inspired by that. I don't know, I've always say it, I sound like a broken record, but I love world builders. Just any artist of any form that builds a whole world around them, I find incredibly inspiring. So that could be anyone from Prince to Pina to Marina Abramovic to Frida Kahlo. So many amazing artists that somehow have managed to build a world beyond their immediate medium. I think it's really cool. How do you feel when you see those movements that you've made, when you see other artists interpreting them and interpreting that method? Like, how does it make you feel?
Oh, I often feel like they're better than I am. And then I start wondering, okay, how can I improve what I'm doing? And sometimes the improvement is just something like, well, you'll know this, like if you're doing this, my arm wasn't quite at a right angle.
Yes.
You have to learn how to do that without looking in a mirror. What does that feel like? Or that, I was told sometimes, no, David, at that moment, keep your legs together. So you make that kind of silhouette. And then when you start moving them, something has happened.
Right.
Those kinds of things.
That's cool. But I mean, like, if you see other music artists, if they, like, copy you or adopt your method, do you feel any way about it? Do you care? Or do you
I'm hugely flattered.
Oh, you're flattered.
And sometimes I don't recognize it. Sometimes I don't see it until a friend taps me on the shoulder and goes, David, they're doing you.
Oh, I see.
And
You
I
like
didn't
it?
recognize. I like it, but I didn't recognize it.
That's good.
You see anybody doing you?
Sometimes, but I think it's very hard.
You're well enough known now that if they're like biting your moves or whatever, they're not going to get away with it.
You know, everyone's individual, so it's like really hard to like fully do it. You know, because when you're an artist, there's like so many different parts of you. Sometimes I just think, okay, well, if they're doing that, I'm just going to go and do a different part of it.
Yes.
You know, it can kind of spur you on to like jump and do something else. So I don't mind. If anything, maybe it's like an encouragement to explore a different part of you.
Oh yeah.
In a way.
It pushes you.
Yeah, it pushes me. Yeah. Like looking at your work, for me, like I feel like it kind of, it's obviously you're a music artist and amazing, but also there is such a strong performance art as well. Like a performance art element in what you do, and in the movements are so complex actually. Like the way like you move your body is like, it's some of the most trained dancers in the world actually couldn't do that. You know, it's like a feeling. It's just it's like beyond technique. It's like it's just this deep connection between when it's a sentence or a feeling that you can't explain and there are no words for it, but when you do the movement, it perfectly explains it, and someone can be like, yeah, I felt like that before.
Yes.
But there's no word or sentence for it. It's like that.
Yeah. We were touring in Australia, and we were, I think the day before our Adelaide show, we saw a sign for a show called Burn Dance at the Adelaide Fringe Festival. We tracked them down. They were getting audience members in their little show to move like me.
Wow.
Of course, I was really flattered. I invited them on stage and said, see if you can teach our crowd.
Wow. Okay, before we go today, will you teach me one of your moves?
Are we allowed to stand up?
Can we
yes,
stand
we
up?
can stand up. We can stand up. One
Okay, wait,
that I
come on.
haven't done in quite a while, but we
Okay.
could try it, is kind of like you're falling down.
Like you're what?
Like you're about to fall down, you
Okay.
know, like that kind of thing.
Okay, show me one more time.
Just off balance, but of course
Okay.
you'll be better at it than
No,
me.
I wouldn't, probably
but
not.
just off balance, but yes.
I like it. Okay, one more. I want
Another
another
one. Something that I saw in in church services.
Okay.
Where somebody be that kind of
Like-
movement where, yes, kind of jerk your spine and your arms go up. Yes, exactly.
Okay, one more.
Another one. Oh, what's another one?
I quite like that one. I do. I
Another one was you can probably do it better than me. I try and get my arms to go just straight across and hang down like I'm a human coat hanger.
Like. Okay. That's a good one.
I have been learning one from the other dancers where I just balance on one leg and sing like that, which you can probably do
That's
way
good.
better than I can at my age. Yeah.
Have you got any like groovy ones? Like you do kind of like,
Oh,
maybe you got like a groove.
yes, it's really, and then go down like a puppet
Oh yeah.
and then come back up.
What's this one?
Like a puppet that's lost its strings. Or
Oh my
the strings
gosh, yeah.
the strings have been cut.
And you groove
And then
it.
I'll let the legs wiggle as well. Yeah.
What's the one that's kind of like a knee and out?
Oh, boy. What is that? This one like
Yes.
that? I can't hardly do it now. You can. It's like,
And you kind of
it's
do
like
like
open
one.
the book, close the book, one side, other side. Yeah. I think you've got it.
I'm looking forward to getting some of these moves into my set.
Okay, there we go. Dance class is over.
No, I'm still in it.